Well, welcome back. We're here at CVTD's YouTube channel, and we're glad that you're here watching. We hope that you're subscribing. Today, I have the pleasure of being with Shaun Bushman, who's actually been a board member since 2006, and obviously he has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. Shaun's also served as the Hiram City representative, and now he's the Cache County representative. So that's great. Excited to be with you today, Shaun. Thanks for taking some time.
Hey, thank you.
And I love the background. Looks like you like to do some rafting or fishing or something.
Yes, I do like both. I don't necessarily catch anything, but I like to try.
Hey, that's right. You're out there doing it, so that's great. Well, you know, Shaun, with all the experience that you've had, and you know, watching the organization change and transition over time. For the new board members that are coming onto the board, you know, over time, what would you share with them from your experience?
Thing is to look at the transit system, look at the route maps, ride a bus. If you're not a regular rider or even a periodic rider, ride a few buses, talk to the drivers. A third way would be to talk to your city or county councils and see what their concerns are as far as transportation in the communities.
I'd also encourage folks, just know you can call me anytime and we can talk about things. We can give you tours. We definitely want to educate you, because I think Shaun's exactly right. What we find is educated board members are the most helpful in making sure that we're doing our job and that the community is getting served the way that they need to. So,
because the CVTD board is quite unique. It's the largest board I've ever heard of, and it's often comprised of people that are appointed by the mayors and you know, voted in by their city councils or county councils, but they have a desire and a passion for getting people where they need to go, you know, in a transit perspective in the valley. And so as a member of such a large board, it behooves us to really think about the things that are presented before us and make wise votes. You know, the apportionment of the board is interesting because not every person gets a full vote. The state law mandates that you determine the voting on a board based on the number of miles that a bus goes through a town or municipality. And so, for example, Hiram, Millville, and Nibley together count for one vote. And you know, that's odd, but it's, you know, how we have to operate. And so, you know, they go by consensus, and if two of the three agree, then that's a vote, or if all three do. And then River Heights, Providence, Cache County each count as a third of a vote. And then Richmond, Lewiston, Smithfield, and Hyde Park count as the last vote. And then Logan City and North Logan each have, you know, the remaining votes.
So Shaun, it sounds like it's a large board. What's the number of board members?
19.
That is a large group. That is a large group. So I'm sure that, though, leads to a lot of diversity on the board, which is a good thing, I think, representing Cache Valley.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
So with regards to you're a public body, are there any things associated with being a public body when you're conducting the public's business that you have to follow?
Yeah, so in our board meetings, you know, which are once a month, and they're on the fourth Wednesdays at 5:45 p.m. And so public is, you know, encouraged to go. But as a board member, you know, those meetings, we do follow Robert's rules. And so there are action items, and there are mandatory, you know, announcements at websites or newspapers, especially for public input. And then those items can be voted on or tabled, and, you know, just kind of a usual council committee meeting.
If a member of the public, you know, wants to attend, what type of things are they going to learn when they go to a board meeting? What's the purpose of the public attending?
Yeah. So there is a time apportioned in every meeting at the first for public comments, if there are comments or questions, and then for the rest of the meeting, you know, we do things like discuss and manage policy or budgets, or we get reports from, you know, bus drivers or community leaders or people that have been affected by our service, you know, to help understand the system more and improve it. There's also from time to time items where we are envisioning 5-year plans, 10-year plans. And so the public could learn and hear about that.
What's the board's role in the budget process, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's the central role, I think, of the board. So budget must be passed every year, and it is passed in December, right? So it can take effect in January. But the budget process really sometimes starts as early as August and definitely September, where the management, your team, prepares a budget, and then there is a subcommittee within the board, the budget committee, and any of the board members can be on that or attend those. And this budget committee goes through line items and really hashes it out with management. And then by about October, they present that to the whole board and as a tentative. And we have to talk about, insurance, because some insurance providers need an okay, before December. So we kind of pass a tentative portion of insurance, but everything else is discussed in October, November, and then passed in December. And for new members, and I'm really excited about this, right? I am actually really proud that you guys do this. The management will have open invites for questions for board members, usually 2 or 3 times before October. So if they want to know why something's happening or not happening, or where this money is going, you guys have always been good to address that.
Yeah, I think you're referencing what we call a workshop, but yeah, you're right. It's open questions, and I agree with you. I found those very helpful, not only for the board members, but for us as a management team, because it helps us understand more what are the things that the board's focused on or concerned about, so that we can make sure we provide information to address those things. You talked about in board meeting that sometimes the board is looking at 5-10-year vision plans or visioning exercises. What does that mean, or I guess what's the board's role in that process?
Envisioning and planning is a large part of being a board member, and some issues come up really every year since I've been here. One of them is, as demographics and traffic patterns change, and as the valley grows, CVTD is approached by various entities that want increased service or change service. And so as the administration sends these ideas or plans that they have to the board members, we need to think about it too and vote on those. And so some issues that come up from time to time, one of them is a balancing act between coverage versus riders. We want to have coverage in the valley where we can get, if somebody wants to be able to get into work or to a doctor's appointment or something, we want to try to get a bus as close as we can to them. Sometimes that means we sacrifice, perfect rider numbers. But we can't ignore rider numbers. Otherwise, it just costs way too much to operate the system. And so that's a balancing act that board members are always working with. And another big deal is, like we mentioned, a 5-year short-range transit plan where professionals come in and give an outside perspective, and then the board and the administration must kind of ruminate on that, metabolize it, and make changes if necessary. And then the final part of envisioning is to think in the future. With the valley growing, what are going to be the needs? Should we visit with city or counties? Should we talk about some massive growth areas? This comes up, and it's a neat topic.
Looking at how we're comparing to peers or other systems?
Some of our reports are sent into a national transit database, which collects them from all entities, and that is published. So you can see how we stack up to peer and even larger entities, as far as like ridership or cost per ride, things like that. Some other comparisons we will commission as a board. We will vote to have surveys or data collecting trips endeavored, if I can use that term.
Sure.
And to try to get a comparison to make sure that we're doing well. And you said I've been here forever, and you're right. I've been on this board for what, 16 years now, almost, or 14 years. I have yet to see a report, and yes, some were commissioned by us, but many were not, I have yet to see a report where Cache Valley was not substantially above the average and sometimes in the top 5%.
Yeah.
I think that you guys are just working really hard to keep this a premier transit district.
Well, I appreciate that. And you're right. I mean, I really have to give hats off to the staff. How is the system funded?
It's a question we get a lot because, you know, our valley votes very conservative and thinks a lot about tax money, and I like that. And CVT does receive tax funding. And so maybe if you give me a second, I'd like to kind of address a few questions that I hear a lot from board members and community members. The first thing I hear is, how much does CVTD receive? And we get about 0.00325% tax from income tax. So that's $3.25 goes to CVTD for every $1,000 that somebody spends in the valley. And a transit district must operate on some kind of tax money. That none of them can operate on fares alone. In fact, even in the largest agency, fares really make up a minority of operating funds. So one thing I love about CVTD is that tax rate is the lowest in Utah and the lowest I've heard of anywhere else. I think many others are 0.005 or even 0.0075. So we keep a low tax rate, but we do need it. Our budget's what, about 5 million a year, or is it 7 million?
About 7 million, yeah.
About 7, yeah. And the operations portion of that comes from the tax money, and then we will leverage a small portion of that tax funding to get federal grants to pay for the buses. And that's a huge endeavor because we have a lot of buses and they cost a lot of money. And so, you know, we have to plan on those every year.
Well, excellent, Shaun. It's been great to spend a little time with you. It's been very informative. And again, I would just invite board members. Another great source for learning is this person right here, Shaun Bushman on the executive committee. So thanks, Shaun.
You're welcome. I'll help if I can.